I realized recently that it has been weeks and weeks since I have done some listener questions. So I wanted to dedicate today's episode to questions and answers from you, the listeners. I'm Jay, and this is Somnilopod. Hello, everyone. Welcome back. I hope you're doing well. I am remiss in answering and talking about some of the questions that you have sent in. So I realized that recently and decided to go ahead and do a question and answer episode. So I wanted to also take this opportunity to welcome some new listeners. We have expanded even more around the globe. The United States is we've got a lot more coverage in the United States. We've picked up listeners in Great Britain and Romania and Norway. We've even picked up listeners in New Zealand, as well as some new ones in Australia. And today we picked up some people in China. So I want to welcome everybody to the Somnilopod family. I hope that this information is good for you and helps you at least become a little more educated about what sleep is and the important place that it plays in our lives. So let's dive in. Our first question is from Andy in Canada. And Andy asks, what is meant when people talk about stages of sleep? Now, this is something that involves some clinical aspects of sleep disorders and sleep medicine. Sleep is broken down into some definable aspects for practitioners to be able to look at it and determine what's happening with it. So over the years in sleep medicine, researchers have developed guidelines that we use to quantify sleep. And typically there are 4 sleep stages. A light stage of sleep is stage 1 or N1 sleep. You may see it referred to that as well. And that is just when we start to drift off. We spend about 5 to 7% of the night in stage 1 sleep. And then we typically will merge from there into stage 2 sleep. We spend the majority of our night in stage 2 sleep. This is where we get our bread and butter. Stage 2 is a deeper stage of sleep. You're much less likely to be able to be awakened in stage 2 than stage 1. We typically will spend around 50%, maybe a little more, depending upon the distribution of some of the other stages in stage 2 sleep throughout the night. We will merge then into stage 3 sleep, and this is one of the deeper stages of sleep. When people talk about deep sleep, this is typically what they're referring to as stage 3 or N3 sleep. This is where our body does a lot of its healing. Growth hormone is secreted, and a lot of chemicals are washed away from the brain, the things that we don't need that build up during the day. So there's a lot of maintenance that goes on during this stage of sleep, and we'll spend about 25% of the night in that. And then from there, we will go into a separate stage of sleep called REM, or rapid eye movement sleep. And these 4 stages are separated into non-REM, those are stages 1 through 3, and REM sleep. REM sleep is a little bit different. The brain activity is a lot faster than in the other stages of sleep. This is where people report them doing the majority of their dreaming. We spend about 25% of the night in REM sleep if we're lucky. And typically those dreams that most people report being able to remember are from REM sleep. Doesn't mean that there aren't dreams from the other stages, but the REM sleep dreams tend to be the most memorable. I hope that answers your question, Andy. For more information on that, you can look through the archives. There's an episode on normal sleep that I think will cover some of that and go into a little bit more depth for you. Now, Roger in Nebraska asks about the effects of daylight savings time on our sleep. Now, daylight savings time, for those people in parts of the world that don't participate in daylight savings time, it is something that northern and southern countries do to sort of give themselves a little more daylight to work later into the day. So in the springtime, the clocks are set forward. So we spring forward, and we actually lose an hour of sleep in the spring. That's why the springtime daylight savings time is usually a little more bothersome than the fall, when we fall back to the regular clock settings. So in the spring, typically it is going to affect us because we are losing an hour of our sleep all at once, which some people are a lot more sensitive to than others. But for the most part, it is something that we will adjust to over time. It takes some people a little bit longer to get used to that. I know myself, I hate springing forward. It really bugs my sleep schedule. So it takes me a good 2 weeks to get back to normal, or at least to where I feel like I'm sleeping normally again with the daylight savings time. And in fact, it is coming up. I believe November the 7th is when we fall back. So we'll fall back to a regular schedule, and we'll begin to see some darkness, I think, in the evenings a little more than we have throughout the summer months. So that brings its whole separate set of issues for those of us that are affected by the lack of light cues. Seasonal affective disorder, things like that, can be affected by that lack of daylight that we are exposed to. So there's some more information on that in some of our other episodes in the archives as well, so check those out. And finally, Brian in California asks, is white noise beneficial? And this is sort of a yes or no question. Yes, it can be, and some people don't really notice a difference. It really depends on the individual. Now, for example, if you are someone who is affected by very light noises, a dog barking, a car driving past, maybe a television in another room. If those are the types of things that keep you from getting to sleep, then certainly white noise will be beneficial for you, because what it does, it creates a low level of steady noise that drowns out some of those other intervening noises. So a lot of people will use just a small fan, or maybe even the noise from a ceiling fan is enough to help them. And they just turn that on at night, and it helps to drown out some of those noises. You have to be careful, because if you make it too loud, then the white noise itself will keep you from sleeping. So you always want to make sure that it is at a comfortable, moderate level, that is not too loud to disturb you. You also want to make sure that it is consistent. Some people find, like, for example, the ticking of a clock, even though it is a consistent noise, it is something that can be disruptive, because if you're anything like me, I focus on that, and then I just sit and listen to the clock ticking. So a steady white noise, you can buy a white noise machine. Sometimes the ocean waves, the sounds of ocean waves, or sounds of nature sounds, things like that, waterfalls, rainfall, can be beneficial. Again, make sure that it is something that is consistent. Some people have trouble with listening for the loop in the recording. I'm one of those as well. And it just dawned on me, I tend to have a lot of sleep issues. I wonder if that's part of what led me into working in sleep medicine. But whenever I've used a white noise machine, I listen for the repeating patterns of either the birds chirping or the rainfall or the thunder or something like that. So that tends to be one of my nighttime kryptonites. Keeps me from sleeping. So I use a fan, just a fan on a low setting, and that tends to work well for me. Give it a try, Brian. See if that helps. I hope this has been informative for you. As always, I do want to thank everybody for listening. I'm so grateful over the past several months to see people get involved in their sleep, at least taking the initiative to learn a little bit more. I'm so proud that I'm able to to help you do that. I will continue to do so. And if you have questions, please feel free to send those to me at j@somnilopod.com. You can also connect with me through Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. Now, I keep mentioning YouTube. There are only a couple of videos up there, but I'm going to work this week to get some more content in there. So that way we can expand some of the audience and give you a little bit more to look for. As always, do remember to try to make sleep a priority. And until next time, we'll talk again. Thanks. Bye-bye.